Oh, there we go.
Hello, how are you?
So yeah, I'm not too bad. How about yourself? Yeah, absolutely love it.
Cool, love it.
So the first question is just tell me a little bit about yourself and your background.
Okay, well, I'm Zoe Whitman. I'm a business coach and I work for the Figure Bookkeeper, and we help bookkeepers start and scale bookkeeping practices which work for them. So we're called the Figure Bookkeepers Club. Not everyone's goal is to hit six figures. Their goal will, but there will be something financial there, and they will be wanting to grow a business which is going to work for them. A lot of our members are parents, and they're looking for more flexibility, which perhaps they haven't been able to find while they've been working as a bookkeeper or an accountant or in some kind of finance role in industry or in practice, and they're thinking, actually there's more for me and I can achieve more if I do this thing, and it's something that's in line with my values and gives me flexibility and security. I just want to help people to make that happen, and I work with Jo Wood, who also, she runs a bookkeeping practice, and we've come together to share our ideas. I used to run a bookkeeping practice. I've worked in accountancy practice, but I did most of my accountancy training in local government and in various management accounting roles. So if you want to talk about how you can make that move from one type of work into the bookkeeping space and start your own business, I'm absolutely happy to explore that as well.
That's brilliant. And I have there was a comment the other day in the Bookkeepers Club which made me laugh. Somebody commented something like first time posting, long time lurker, or something along those lines. And I just thought, since joining the Six Figure Bookkeeping Club, I've watched all your videos. I've been all over your YouTube channel watching interviews and getting to really know yourself and Joe, and also the other members in the group. And I think what you're doing is just fantastic, and it does plug that hole, and you've got that community going on. So individuals who are starting off on their own and feel a little bit lonely, because as you said, it can be lonely sometimes. You really do have that community feel that you've built. So commendments to both of you for that.
Oh, bless you. The community is massive. Do you know what? I was on a call this morning and someone was talking about, how traditionally we want to kind of guard our secrets and keep it all to ourselves. But what we've learned through building a community, and I know that we're not for everybody, like we're two women and we've got kids and we talk about like running businesses around families and stuff. That's our thing. And that isn't the way that everyone wants to work with a coach or be part of a community. But we've really learned by building this community that actually we can all raise the game if we can all learn from each other in this hive mind that comes with being part of this huge collaboration. That means we all start off at a better place, and then we can all together like reach bigger goals.
I'd agree with that. I think it's very much I think it's a very old school accounting way of going about it, where knowledge is power. Whereas I myself have always gone by the slogan that, everything I know, I'd like to share with somebody else, because then if they know, then there's two of us that know, and the job gets done a lot quicker.
Love also, that.
Everybody raises the game again. So yeah, I completely agree with that. I love that. Oh, okay, so my next question is what qualifications did you take? And have you taken more than one? And why did you take those specific qualifications?
Okay, so when I started work, my first job, I worked in local government, and I did my ACCA training. So if you want the long history, I took my A levels at school, and then I went to university and did an accounting and finance degree. I started an accounting and finance degree, which was the university close to home. I didn't want to move away, and I didn't choose the thing I really wanted to do, which was economics. So I started this accountancy and finance thing, and then realized if I wanted to be an accountant, actually I could just get a job and get someone to pay for my training. So I dropped out of uni and I got a job in local government, and they paid for my ACCA exams. I think my boss at the time said, oh, we'd normally put you on AAT, but since you've like gone out and tried to do university, we think you can probably do it. So you can join the others and do ACCA at the same time as the other trainees. And that was actually amazing for me at that time. I feel that really gave me a huge head start in employment, really, that I wouldn't have accessed as a school leaver without a degree otherwise. So that made a massive difference for me, and that really helped me to move around different roles and get lots of different experiences. And I really think the ACCA is a fantastic qualification, and I really advocate for them. I'm actually on the Bristol panel for the ACCA because I want to spread the word about how that can help you with your career, and I believe it brings a lot of social mobility to have that kind of qualification. It's one of the biggest global qualifications that there is as well. But when I decided to start my bookkeeping business, so I left when I went on maternity leave and I had a little baby, and I didn't want to go back to work full time in a banking role where we had very long hours. I decided that I would run my own business so I could have more flexibility. And actually the sort of fastest route really for me to be able to get the practice license I needed to deliver the services I wanted to deliver, which were do some tax returns and some bookkeeping, was to retrain with the ICB and get their license. And so I did ICB exams in my 30s to get my practice license. So I do have 2 qualifications.
Wow, that's amazing. I know as well on my channel, I talk a lot about AAT just because AAT is sort of the thing that, again, I did, it's close to home. But again, learning this last week all about the ICB and all the different things you can do with the qualification, and again, the license that you can acquire and everything it sets you up for when opening your own bookkeeping practice is just brilliant. Absolutely.
I think that possibly my understanding of the difference really is that the AAT, and not to put anybody down because I think they're all very good qualifications, but I think that the ICB have designed a qualification that works for the professional bookkeeper who wants to build a business, whereas the AAT has been very much designed for somebody who wants to work in practice as an employee. That's how I see the difference at the moment.
No, that's a good analogy. Okay, so then what did you enjoy the most then about studying the ICB or the ACCA or even both?
Oh, wow. Did I enjoy it? You know, when you get those massive books in the post, do you remember? And then you'd be like, oh my God. And I took my ACCA exams 2 at a time. So usually there'd be like one which was a real number crunching one and one which was much more about like writing and explaining something. Do you know, my favorite parts of the ACCA syllabus were the things where I could get involved in some kind of theory or arguing one point or another of something. And they've changed the syllabus now because it was a long time ago I did ACCA, but there was a paper and it was about management. I can't remember what it was called, but it was about like, there was like Maslow's hierarchy of needs and Hertzberg's 2-factor theory, motivation theory, all of that stuff about business strategy and why we behave in the ways that we do. I love that stuff. So anything like that, which was wordy, was definitely my thing, which is, I don't know whether an accountant should be saying that really.
Definitely.
The ICB. Yeah, exactly. It's important, isn't it, to have that understanding of business and why we react to certain things in certain ways. That's what makes you a business person. Yeah, I'd agree with that. So was there anything in particular about the ICB that you really enjoyed? Well, I suppose I really liked getting into we do everything on software now. So the ICB took you through the manual way of doing things and then the computerized way of things. And I think there were like 2 books for most things where one was manual, one was computerized. And that was good actually, because you had to go back and you had to learn the old way of doing it. And I think there were things where I was looking at things, I was like, oh, I actually really understand now why you do that in that particular way. And I suppose there's this ongoing dialogue where there's a bit of a war going on between accountants and bookkeepers, and sometimes they're not on the same page or don't respect each other in the same way. And I suppose I'm on both sides of that argument. But as someone who's trained as an accountant and having worked in practice and not really seen the bookkeeping side of things until, I don't know, 15, 20 years into my career, it was really eye-opening to go through that process. So I think there was a real benefit for me at that point of going through the transactions and seeing the real back to basics detail.
I think though I had this conversation with another individual on the channel who had studied ICB, and there is sometimes this sort of gap, like I say, a little bit of tension between accountants and bookkeepers. But I find often it's because sometimes we don't understand the roles of each other and where sort of the responsibilities lie. Whereas, again, having done bookkeeping myself and then done the accountancy element, I have full respect for all aspects of bookkeeping and accounting. you can go in so much depth with both. And I just think, again, it's just due to a little bit of lack of understanding, I think, sometimes.
That's a really good way to describe it. It is, yeah, the awareness.
That's it. So I keep coughing here. Okay, so then are there any things that you would have done differently with your career up to this point?
Well, I think when I went out to start the bookkeeping practice, because I hadn't ever thought I would start my own practice, I'd never thought that self-employment was an option for me. I hadn't kept the records that I could have kept that would have made it easy for me to get an ACCA license. And I just didn't have the time in my life to go through the process, to be honest with you. So I think perhaps I would have approached things differently, but then I think I was a different person back then as well. It's really difficult to, like, I really have a policy of not regretting anything. You make decisions because you get to a point and you assess where you are and is this in line with where I want to be, and that will help you to make that decision. So no, I think with hindsight, if I'd realized I was going to end up where I was, maybe I would have made different choices, but I also had to go on that path to realize where I needed to be. So I'm going to say no.
That's a lovely way of putting it, though. Definitely. When I've been asked that question in the past, I've said something quite similar, because you don't know what you know until you've done it, and then you realize, okay, in the situation now with everything that I know, maybe, but at the point in time I didn't know, so I chose the best route and path for me at that moment in time. So yeah, that's a very good answer.
You don't know what you don't know. That's what they say, isn't it?
So then, what would you either tell yourself if you could go back 5 years? So from either, a business point of view with the way that sort of the last 5 years of your life now, or perhaps in terms of, again, the qualifications or certain decisions that you've made along the way.
What would I tell myself 5 years ago? Do you know what? The thing that I really lacked 5 years ago was self-belief. Although I probably come across as quite a confident person, I've definitely had my ups and downs in confidence. And when I started the bookkeeping practice, I did a lot of I'm not good enough kind of thinking. And it's really easy to get in that sort of thought trap. And I think that we all need to stop comparing ourselves to other people. Your goals are your goals, and you need to set goals, and I need to set goals which are right for me and what I want to achieve and who I want to be in the future. And that's okay. Yeah. And I wish that I had thought like that in the past. But you know what, we have to go on these journeys of self-discovery to realize that stuff as well. It's another thing. It's like learning and growing, getting older and having different experiences. But yeah, I definitely could have done with taking more time to be aware of some of the things I was perhaps telling myself that I couldn't do, and reassessing those. That would have been helpful.
Yeah, I think though, just speaking generally, again, even now, I've had well over a decade of experience in accounting and finance, and there are some days even now where I do have a little bit of imposter syndrome, and I say, oh, I don't know that. I start to doubt myself, but then I think, no, hang on a second. If you don't know something, there is guidance. There's someone you can talk to. There's always some sort of resource you can go to try and find the answer, and again, sort of upskill. So I think the message there is just, yeah, as you say, don't have that imposter syndrome.
Yeah, I mean, we have a group of, I don't know, nearly 3,500 bookkeepers, and I don't know. There's plenty of technical stuff in that group that I don't know, and that's okay. That isn't my role there. And I think part of it is just knowing that you don't know something, knowing that you need to look for something, and all of the training that we've gone through, whichever professional body you are with, they have given you the awareness and the tools to know where to look. That's the starting point. It's even if you're having a conversation with a client and something comes up and you're like, oh, I don't know, they're going to think I'm so stupid. They don't, because they don't know, but you don't know, and you know where to go and find out where the starting point is or who to ask. I think we really have to believe in ourselves so much more, because this profession is so important to all small businesses.
Absolutely. And I think it's okay to say that you don't know at that moment in time, and to say, look, I don't know, but I will definitely look into that for you. And that's an okay answer, certainly. Okay, well, that's brilliant. So then my last question is then, what tips or guidance would you have for somebody who's looking to study that ICB? So somebody that's maybe, again, gone down the accountancy route or corporate route, and has never again really thought about becoming self-employed and becoming a bookkeeper. Yeah, what tips and guidance would you have there?
Okay, think about your long plan. Like, where do you want to be? And be like unapologetically ambitious about what that looks like. It's okay, because if we set ourselves really tiny goals and we're like, I'm going to earn £1,000 a month in my small business, and then we hit that, because that's probably not that unachievable. We hit it and we're like, great, I've done it. But if we go out and we say, I'm going to earn £20,000 a month in my small business, and we're like, oh God, I don't want to write it down because I'll never actually do that. But do you know what? If you write that £20,000 down and you hit 5,000 instead of 1,000, you're going to be really, really pleased with yourself. So go out there, set goals that are just stretching you a little bit, and then set up a business that's going to help you to do that. And when you're thinking about your professional body or the qualification you're going to choose, just look further ahead, because I think it's really easy to go, well, everyone does this qualification, so I'll just do that and just plod through the exams. But also look at what has to happen when you've finished it. So with the AAT, there's an experience element. And I know that a lot of people want to be with the AAT, but then if they haven't worked in practice, they can't get someone to sign that part of their training record. So just think about any barriers you're going to come up against in the future and start making a plan for those things now, because while you're training and studying, you can be getting some of that stuff ticked off so that later on you haven't got that. It's a bit like with my ACCA. If when I was 19, I'd had the foresight to get somebody to sign off something towards a practice license, that could have just meant I had it in place. I didn't know that. But if you can think about that now, if you know one day you want to have your own business, then that's going to help you and save you some time.
That's brilliant. Chance to cough again. Well, that's the end of all of those questions.
Lovely.
There, but all those answers were just brilliant, absolutely brilliant, very insightful, very deep. And I'm sure, as and when this goes up onto the channel, a lot of individuals will be very thankful and sort of glued to the screen.
Oh well, I hope it's been helpful. I think,
Definitely.
if we're all talking about this and we're all together able to encourage people, it's a really good thing.
It's been absolutely lovely, an absolute pleasure.
It's so nice to no, thank you for fitting me in. I really appreciate it.